This my rebel music. This my rebel music. You have a voice and you feel use it. And maybe we could start a revolution. No, you shoulda never trouble the trouble. The trouble never trouble you. Hey.
Good afternoon to my viewers and subscribers and friends and family who tune in to Cardo's Media. We are here to have a live discussion with Dr. Thomson Fantaine. But before I bring him online, I am gonna give a brief synopsis of leadership. Leadership is the ability to influence or guide others to accomplish a goal. Some common styles of leadership. There's a democratic leader, a transformational leader, an aristocratic leader, a laissez-faire leader, or a servant leader. Often, leaders use multiple styles of leadership depending on their experience, the need of their team, and the goals of the organization. When choosing a leadership style, you can consider things like whether you value your goals over relationships, whether you prefer structure or freedom of choice, whether you prefer to make decisions alone or collectively, whether you focus on short-term and long-term goals, whether you prefer motivation through empowerment or direction. So these are some of the basic terms of a leader and what they are. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Dr. Thomson Fantaine. Good afternoon, Dr. Thomson Fantaine. How are you today?
I am doing well, and it's good to be with you. Very good evening to you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Yes.
So, my name is Ricardo, sent to me from Wesley, out of the village of Wesley, Commonwealth of Dominica. I currently reside in the United States, and I've been noticing an interesting topic going around Dominica, and I decided to say, let me reach out and see if I could get have a conversation with you on said topic and other topics as we go along throughout our presentation this afternoon. So I hope that our message will go out there loud and clear, and that your message as the leader will go out there loud and clear as well.
Sorry, Ricardo, without interrupting you, a number of persons have been asking me where can they find the broadcast, because it's not on your page on Cardo's Media.
It's on Ricardo St. Amy, which is RICARDO St. Amy. Let me type it in the comment box.
Yeah, because a number of persons have been asking.
St. Amy.
I'm there now. I still can't find it.
It's not coming up?
No.
You got to refresh your page again.
Yeah, I did. I click on posts and it's still not
Edit privacy, publish.
showing up.
It's showing that we are live.
All right. Yes, it's showing now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry about that, but yes. So you could find me on Cardo's Media, on Ricardo St. Amy, and also on YouTube at Ricardo St. Amy. So we are streaming on 3 platforms at the moment. Are they finding it?
Yes.
Good.
It's been
found.
Yes.
All right.
And I've also shared it on my page as well, and on the party's web page.
All right, good. Well, so yes. So Dr. Fantaine, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and certainly happy to be with you to discuss some very interesting and important topics that matter very much, I believe, to the public.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from a very picturesque village, one of the more beautiful villages, I believe, in Dominica.
I beg to differ.
It's a city on a hill. We refer to it as White City, but it's the village of Grand Fort on the
Okay.
southeast part of Dominica. Yes.
Okay. I've been to Grand Form numerous times. So
Beautiful village, right? You have to
yes, it
admit.
is. Yes, it is.
Yes,
Yes, it
yes,
is.
absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Yes.
so let me ask you something, Dr. Fountain. What is your doctorate in?
I have a PhD in economics, basically in financial and international economics. Yes.
Okay, good. That's an interesting thing. I didn't know you could get PhDs and stuff in those fields.
Oh yes. Because when you have a PhD in economics, you can decide to specialize. So you have, for example, labor economists who might do a PhD in labor economics, so you can do one in health economics. International economics is another area. So you have different fields within the economics area that you could actually specialize in.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I specialized basically in financial and international economics.
Financial. Alrighty. That's good then. So you are good with numbers, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the things that drew me to economics is my love for math. I was a high school math teacher and taught statistics at the sixth form college and also taught math at UE. And so, yeah, I was always interested in math and I had a very keen knowledge of math. And that's what, in fact, drew me into economics. Because actually, to be an economics at that level, you have to have a very sound understanding of math. If you
Of
don't, you will
mathematics.
not be able to get through. As simple as that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. So let me now lead into our conversation. You are currently the leader of the United Workers' Party, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I have a member of another person I would like to join our live. Is that okay with us? Is that
Yeah,
okay
that's
with you?
fine. Absolutely.
So we have Mr. Roll with us as well. So
Okay.
here we go now. I was just gonna ask this question, get it off the air. Do you need to be a constituency representative in order to run for leadership in your party?
Well, that is not stated in the Constitution. So basically, anybody can run. It's not a prerequisite, or it's certainly not enshrined in the Constitution that you must be a constituency representative. Yeah.
Okay, so if I leave here now and go to Dominic, I could run in the thing then.
Yeah, sure. You can literally wash your foot and come. Absolutely.
So we've been hearing conversation has been sparked with young Senator Mr. Delbert Paris out of Marigot wanting to vie for the leadership of the United Workers' Party. Is that something that you are like? Is it like a challenge basically for the leadership? Is that something that is okay with you, or how would you work with that?
Well, the fact of the matter is our party, the United Workers' Party that I lead, is a very democratic party.
Okay.
We have what we call a delegates conference every year where effectively we elect our leaders. So anyone really can contest for that position. This will be my third year actually of contesting an election in 2022 when I first won the leadership. I contested against another young individual, Clement Masley, one of the youngest members of our party, and again in 2023. The difference, of course, was that Clement Masley was much more seasoned like I was. I took part in the 2014 general elections in Dominica for the constituency of Grand Fort, and Clement Masley himself contested in the Penville Viecas area, both in 2014 and 2019. So, in a way, Clement Masley was a bit more seasoned. As you know, Mr. Parrish is just coming in, just getting into the politics. So it's a little bit different, and that's one of the things I believe that differentiates me as well. as leader of the party is that I've been tested. I've certainly been tested in terms of having contested the elections, my own political activity on behalf of the United Workers' Party has been such that I've been thrown in jail, spent 3 days in jail. I am now before the courts on the charges of obstruction and incitement, all because of my political activity. So in a way, I feel that, you know, the years of working within the party, working for and on behalf of the party has prepared me for this time of leadership. And that's the reason why I am going into this race, you know, very much comfortable or you know, but not taking anything for granted, understanding that at the end of the day, the delegates make the decision. So I still have to reach out to the candidates. I still have to endear myself to the candidates. And I should also add that the candidates or the delegates rather who voted me in 2022 and again in 2023, I'll continue to appeal to them. And of course, any new delegates that come on stream, I'll continue to appeal to them. So I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm taking this race very, very seriously because I believe that I have something to offer to the Dominican public based on my experience, based on my vision for Dominica. And that is something that I am prepared to do, and I'm really looking forward to doing.
But let me ask you this, though. Why do you guys have your leadership voting so frequently? Why don't we have it for a set time, like not just a year basis, but 5-year basis or however long, a longer period than just a year?
Yeah, the Constitution calls for a year, and then probably some might argue, in fact, some people have been arguing for a revision of the Constitution to probably make it less frequent. What we have done in the past in terms of precedent is that we've never really had voting every year for the leader of the party. There are years when we'll just agree that we'll leave the current leader. So there's a consensus that the current leader will go unchallenged. So you don't have a vote, you know. It's only where the leader is being challenged that you have a vote. But I think a lot of people have been advocating, given that this is the third year in a row we are having such an election, there are a number of persons who have been advocating. Probably it is good to have, for example, one that has been spoken of a lot, is that the leader should, once he's selected, should be allowed to prepare for a general election and at least take the party into a general election. And then depending on his success or failure or her success or failure, then you decide what to do after that. So these are all things that we, you know, certainly as we move along, as we continue to mature as a party, that we'll be looking at.
Okay, I think that answer there makes a lot more sense to me, because it's like, you're taken away from the parties. I mean, if I'm a leader for 1 year, what have I brought to the party to show that, you know, that is making I'm beneficial to the party in that sense?
Yes, indeed, because we have typically we have a 5-year election cycle, and that's why people are saying, well, it should be a bit less frequent. So allow the leader to be able to establish himself, and because at the end of the day, when you select a leader of a major party, the idea is to win the election. And that is why I keep telling people that when I was elected 2 years ago, what I promised the people of Dominica, what I promised the members of the United Workers' Party team in Dominica, is that I will do everything to ensure that we win the next election that we contest in. And that is still my goal. That is still my ambition. That is still my vision. And that is basically what I bring to this party, the ability to win a general election in Dominica. Because as you know, we've been in opposition for the past 24 years, and that's a very long time to be in opposition. And I believe that every member of the United Workers' Party, they're looking for this win. And certainly in terms of my experience, in terms of my ability to draw persons from across the political divide. Because if it's one thing, when you talk to people about me, they will say one of my biggest strengths is to be non-threatening to the opposition. In other words, that people feel that they can trust me. The opposition feels that I can be trusted with their vote. You know, I'm not standoffish. I'm not running away people. I am more the kind of person that will seek consensus, bring people across. And I think that's a very strong appeal in a country where we've had the Dominican Labour Party been in the ascendancy for so long. And I've been getting more than 50% of the vote consistently. So in order for us to really make a an intent and to win the next election, we have to bring across a significant number of labor rights, while at the same time maintaining or sustaining the base that we have of about 43 to 45% of the voting population.
I'm reading a comment in the comment box. It's saying that why do you have to wait for elections if there are signs that the leader is not able to lead? He/she should be challenged.
No, I'm not arguing that the leader should not be challenged, and of course, and that's the reason why, again, there is that opportunity for people to do that. All I'm saying is that there are a number of persons who are arguing that the leader, once you select a leader, that the leader should be given an opportunity to take the party into the election. You know, because we've had leaders who've taken us to elections without success, not only one, but 2 election cycles, or even 3 election cycles. So, you know, there is a precedent that has been set, and in a way, that is basically what a number of persons have been advocating for.
Okay. So, the leader of the party doesn't necessarily become the PM. So that's a faulty argument. That's another comment that's coming from the comments.
No, well, actually, the way our system works, we have the Westminster system, and what happens is that the leader of the party, having won his seat, is usually the person that commands the majority. But you could have a situation, for example, where a party could win an election, and that the majority of persons who are successful at the polls could decide they don't want the leader of a party to be the prime minister, and they throw their support behind somebody else. That is also possible. Basically, the person who becomes the prime minister is the person who commands the largest share of the elected members of parliament. So one could agree that is certainly a possibility.
Okay. Well, the comment box is going up, so we will continue looking at the comment boxes as we go along. Let me ask you this other question here now. What are your thoughts on let me rephrase that. Was the leadership position by Senator Paris done privately before it was brought public, or was it just brought out in the public?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure what procedure was used in terms of his decision or how it came about. I'm not privy to that information. What I do know is that I was aware first when we, as part of the process of selecting the leaders of the party, we have a nominations process where the chairpersons of what we call our constituency associations, they come together and they vote or agree, and they make recommendations to go forward to the delegates conference. It's at that point I learned that he had an interest in challenging, and also there were also several news reports that came out around that same time that indicated that he was throwing his hat into the ring for the leadership of the party.
But that's why I asked that question. Was it just brought out in the public, or did the party, like, there was a discussion amongst you guys and everybody knew and then he brought it out to the public? That's why I asked that question.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, I guess it was a little of both in that case, in terms of going through the process that we have and also making it public via different media.
Okay. And there's a question: how do one elect the delegates? So how are the delegates elected?
All right. So the delegates are usually selected by normally, if you have either through the process. How it's supposed to work ideally is that in each of the constituencies you have a constituency association. That is a group of individuals who support the party within that constituency. Now, you may or may not have in each of those constituencies a proposed candidate, or what we call a caretaker. So that is somebody who may either have run for that office at some point, or they may be willing to run for the party. So that's called a caretaker. But typically, the delegates are selected by this constituency association that will meet and agree in terms of who are the persons that will go forward. in the case of the United Workers' Party, what we have been adopting is that we go according to the polling districts. So we select from the polling district one person from each of the polling districts, as well as 3 individuals from the executive of the constituency association. So that's basically how it is done. So you'll find out, for example, the larger constituencies with more polling districts will have more delegates. But for the most part, it ranges between 6 to 10 for each of the constituencies.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people you have to influence.
Yes, well, typically it adds up if you include as well in terms of those who can vote. You have the delegates that are selected, as I just described. But in addition to that, you have the founding fathers and you have the members of the national executive.
Okay.
So that includes the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and so on. All of those members also. It works out to roughly 200 persons in all. And these are individuals who will eventually vote for the different positions within the party, not just the political leader, but all the other positions are voted for by those delegates.
Okay. So let me bring on Mr. Roll. Mr. Roll, how are you doing this afternoon, sir? Your mic is muted.
Oh, yeah. I would say I'm good. I was just asking Thomson how he doing.
Hi, Clint. I'm good. It's good to see you. The last time I saw you, I think you were, going for some trying times there.
Some turbulence, right?
Sorry?
I said some turbulence.
Yes. It reminded me of the time that I had, certainly. So we have certainly share something deeply in common as far as.
Well, to be honest with you, while I sat in there, my mind came on you. I was saying, Lord, this is where Thomson was sitting.
You notice how dark and foreboding this place is, right? Very, very depressing place to be at. Yeah. Especially when you know that you've done nothing wrong and you're not deserving of that type of treatment, and it makes it worse. It plays on your mind. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Roll, do you have any questions for Mr. Fantaine as we have him on the live this afternoon?
To begin, I'll just really, my question to him would be, how comfortable is he? Which I think I have a clear idea, but just for the listening public is, how comfortable are you knowing that now there's somebody going up against you? And in terms of your politics and Dominica, your own personal ideology when it comes to your politics, how do you see yourself resonating among young people? That's where I want to start for the afternoon.
Yeah, sure. Great question, Clint. I think what I offer the Dominican public is a tried and tested leader, in the sense that I think I understand very well what the needs of the country is. As an economist, I understand what we need to do to revitalize the Dominican economy. And I think my big appeal to the young people is that I'll be able, as the Prime Minister of Dominica, to create the kind of jobs and opportunities that they require and that they want. And to me, that is a huge selling point, because I'm able to offer them the opportunity to find work. I'm able to create that enabling environment that will allow them to move beyond where they are. Given my focus on education, my focus on job creation, a vision for Dominica that puts Dominica to work, I believe that's very appealing to the young people. And that's what basically I've been able to reach out to them, about in the sense that I want the young people of Dominica to be able to aspire, to be able to do like I did as a young boy from the village of Grand Fawn, having realized my dreams through education, to be able to earn a decent living. I want the same thing for the people of Dominica. I want the same thing for the young people of Dominica. I want to get our young people out of poverty, out of this, trap of not doing anything. I want to see our young people being put to work. I want to see our young people being productive. I want to see our young people earning. I want to see our young people creating wealth. That is how I say it, and that is what I offer to them. And I believe that that's a very strong appeal, because as a young person in Dominica, you don't want to be wasting your years away. You want to be able to be contributing to society in a very meaningful way. You want to be able to take care of your family, build a family if you have to. You want to be able to help your parents. You want to be able to contribute in a meaningful way. And I think at the end of the day, that is what I am able to offer to the young people of Dominica: an opportunity to earn, an opportunity to work, an opportunity to make wealth and to grow wealth, and to really make a better life for themselves. And I think that's a very appealing place to be at. It's a vision that I have, and I say that because in my many, many years of experience working as an economist I've lost count of the number of countries, and understanding the way economies work, understanding, what drives an economy. You can think of an economy like a car, and for a car to move, it has to have an engine. That's what moves the vehicle, is the engine. And you're able to start the engine and the car moves. Until you're able to start that engine, the car is not going anywhere. Think of an economy in the very same way. I understand what is in the engine. I understand what it takes to make the engine move. I understand what it takes to make the car move. And I think that, I believe, is critically important, in particular for the young people of Dominica.
So you'll be an economic mechanic.
Absolutely. Creating jobs, cranking jobs up for the young people of Dominica, and having a very, precise way of doing it. This is not just a pie in the sky. These are very thoughtful things. These are ideas that I've been working on for many, many years. So, for example, when I go to a country, I look at what the country is doing well. I study them. I question their officials. I want to understand how they get this particular thing to work, this particular policy that they're using. And I internalize it. And I'm thinking all the time, I'm thinking of Dominica. How can I use what I've just learned in Ghana, for example, and the way they have dealt with the agriculture in Ghana? How can I apply those lessons to Dominica to create opportunities similarly? So that's the kind of thinking that has always motivated me. All of my years overseas, I've never lost track of Dominica. When I left to go to study, I was coming back as often as I could. When I started to work and I was able to afford, I would come every year into Dominica, constantly staying in touch, constantly been there. That attraction to Dominica, I never, ever lost that attraction to Dominica, that great love for the country, the beauty of the country, and everything that country offers, and one of my biggest issues that I have today is that we've not been able as a country to take care of our young people. So when I go across Dominica, I see the number of young men that have not been able to get the same opportunity that I got. In my village, I see young men whom I grew up with and who never had the opportunity that I have, that I've had. So that is what motivates me. How can I bring this multitude of experience to bear so that I can create something with the help, of course, of a team to be able to contribute in a very substantive way to Dominica. And I think that is the appeal that I have, and it's something that the young people can aspire to. I'm not just a face. I am more than a face. I think what I have is a series of ideas, experience by looking at different countries, by internalizing it through my own work, for example, what I was able to do in St. Kitts, a country that was really struggling in 2010, 2011, 2012, and I was able to be assigned to that country and help them get out of that situation that they were in. That's what I want to bring to Dominica, and I'm hoping and I'm hopeful that the people of Dominica will allow me that opportunity.
Let's take some comments from the people on the chat. Someone asked, Thomson Fantaine, what is your view on constant threats made against the government officials and politicians? What are your views on that?
Okay, well, obviously I will certainly stand totally against any threat against any government official. I'm not sure what the person is referring to specifically. I've not heard of any specific threats against government officials, or it could be that the person is referring to whistleblowers within government. I'm not sure, but whatever it is, I think there should be a zero tolerance for any kind of violence, any kind of threat against any politician. I remember a few years ago when we were contesting in the elections, there were threats made, even from the prime minister, asking that, when they come in front of your door, they throw hot water and so on. That to me should have no place in our politics. We should be able to contend over ideas. We should be able to, as politicians, stand before the people of Dominica and say, here is what I can offer you. Is what I can bring to you. No need to be violent or to be issuing threats against, others. It does not help. And anytime you have this violence, anytime you have those threats, it creates that atmosphere that is not good for the country. And for me, as a politician, as an economist, as a professional, I want to keep the focus on the economy. I want to keep the focus on job creation. I want to keep the focus on improving the lives of the average Dominican. And that to me is that's what drives me. That's what gets me to get up every morning and think about how we can get it done.
Okay. There's another question. In order to be prime minister, based on your earlier statement, one has to be able to win their seat. How comfortable you believe that you are being elected by the people of Grand Forks? How comfortable are you?
Oh, extremely comfortable. Extremely comfortable. When I contested in 2013, I won the night of the elections. The night of election, I was actually announced initially as the winner. I found out the following day that 21 of my ballots were rejected in a polling district that normally has 1 or 2 rejected ballots. There were 21 rejected ballots, all of them against me. And in the process, after several recounts and so on, it was claimed that the opponent won by 3 votes. So I never really lost the Grand Forks seat. And I can tell you that the support today, individuals who I know voted against me in 2014 are now saying that we will support you. They're now saying that we're going to have a prime minister from the East for the very first time. They're extremely excited about it. In fact, the whole East, the whole southeast of Dominica, they're very excited again about the prospect that finally we're going to have a prime minister that is coming from that part of the island.
Region. Okay.
Somebody who is rooted, someone whose navel strings are buried in the village of Grand Forks, who never left the village, a country boy, at heart, and who still loved to be out there in his garden, who still loved to be out there, putting the hands in the soil. And, people have gravitating towards that. And I can tell you that the level of support for my candidacy, the level of support for me as the candidate for Grand Forks is certainly way up there. I've been able to convert through direct speaking and campaigning and influencing several individuals. And I'm extremely confident, not only will I win the Grand Forks seat, but I'll win the Grand Forks seat by a huge, huge margin.
All right. There's another question. Besides agriculture, what can you put in place for our young people?
All right. So the number one thing for the young people to me is that I want to, what I call the blue economy. I believe that the opportunities for young people are really in the creative side of things. We are talking about being able to manipulate artificial intelligence. We are talking about being able to go online, and the amount of time spent online in terms whether it's a laptop or a mobile device or some other device, to be able to convert that time to earning. There are a tremendous amount of opportunities for young people where they can earn wealth in the comfort of their homes, for example, that are there to be exploited. And for me, that is where I'll be looking for to put the majority of young people to work. The agriculture, what I want to see within the agriculture, I know that there are young people who want to go into agriculture as well, so I'm not dispelling that. But even within that area, you have what we call the auxiliary services that are linked to agriculture, such as marketing, such as advertising. Young people can find creative ways to market the agro products. They can find creative ways to advertise. There are different things that can be done. But above all, I believe for me, as the Prime Minister of Dominica, is to direct the young people in the area of the what we call the blue economy or the knowledge industries. In fact, when we held this big economic summit a few months ago in Dominica, that was one
Jungle
of
Bay,
the
right?
biggest themes, right? We had an economic summit where we looked at, I talked earlier about the engine. And I'm not talking about a car with just one engine, I'm talking about several cars with several engines. And one of those, of course, is the knowledge industry, the blue economy, where young people can use their creative skills, they can use their imagination, they can create things, they can create apps, they can, they can do different things online that will help them earn a decent living. And the opportunities are endless. And these are some of the things that we'll certainly be exploring for the young people of Dominica.
Okay. So that's basically your plans to revitalize the party and the economy of Dominica.
Yeah, absolutely. Agriculture linked to agro-processing, of course, because in addition to agriculture, agro-processing and our water industries as another major area. That is something that we have in abundance. One of the first things that you learn as an economist is that resources are limited. That's one. And the second thing that you learn is that you look for your comparative advantage, where you have the advantage. When I look around Dominica, the advantage that we have is our rich, fertile land and our water. And now what we now have to do is to be able to convert those resources into making money so that people can earn money and we can build the economy. And that is where the thinking is. That is where the focus will be.
So there's another question. If not elected as party leader, would you give your full support to the elected leader and return in Dominica to aid in such support?
Interestingly enough, I've not necessarily thought of that as yet. I mean, I've been thinking as the leader of the party, I tend to keep a very positive mindset. I've not gotten to that as yet. If that happens, I will deal with it at the moment. But for now, my whole thinking is to win the delegates conference and to go on to win the prime ministership of Dominica at the head of the United Workers' Party, and that is what I'm focused on.
Okay, so your focus is on retaining leadership.
On retaining leadership, one, and then taking that to move on, so that all the ideas, all the vision, everything that we are talking about tonight can be brought to fruition.
So now, I'm gonna ask you this question then now. The people, I've been hearing talks that people are concerned about you not being home as the leader of the party, right? Are you planning on returning home anytime soon?
Oh, absolutely. No, I've laid that to rest already. I've indicated to the people of Dominica that I will be in Dominica full time, and that it is happening at the end of this year. I'll be back in Dominica to focus on winning the next general election. That's a promise I've made to the people of Dominica, and that's one I intend to keep. And in fact, last year when I got elected, that question was posed to me, and I was very frank with the people of Dominica. I was very frank with the delegates. I told them that I had been asked to stay on in South Sudan because of where we were in terms of negotiating and so on, and that I would be back at the end of the year. So I want to make good on that promise and certainly be back, because one of the things that you'll be aware of is that although we have a 5-year election cycle, elections can be called at any time. Okay, you could have elections at any, and that is the prerogative of the prime minister. So the idea is to be able to be in a position to prepare the party, to do the hard work, to do the necessary work on the ground. Because one of the things that I believe in firmly, that if you're going to win an election, you have to do the work on the ground. You have to be constantly in the ear of the people, and you find them where they are, in their homes, on the streets, in the fields, wherever they are. That is where you find them where they are, so that you can impart to them your vision for the country and what you want to do. And I believe that with a strong team behind me, a strong party that is fully united, we'll be able to get that message and do it in a way that is convincing, do it in a way that will guarantee us that victory whenever elections are called.
Now, let me ask you this question as you brought that little section there up. In the last election, the UWP decided not to participate. Was that a blunder on the party, or was that a strategic move on the party? This is your perspective and not the party's perspective.
Yeah, no, it was I've had the opportunity to explain that very same thing to the different observer missions, the Commonwealth Observer Mission, the OAS Observer Mission, the Commonwealth Observer Mission. And what I told them is this, and when they question why it is that your party would not take part in an election, it was quite simple. We had to send a message that was that could not be misinterpreted. And that message was we were fed up of having to contest elections where we did not have a level playing field. Because what that means, if every time you come to kick a goal, the goal has been shifted, you have a problem. Every time you come to bowl, suddenly the wickets are not there. You're never going to get a wicket. You're never going to win. And so we thought it was important to send this message to the government of Dominica that we were fed up of the stolen elections, that we were fed up of not having electoral reforms, and we needed those to be done, and we needed them to be done now. And that was the only way we could send a very strong message, because that is if you like, that is the extreme measure that we could have undertaken. That is where you go to the extreme, and we were prepared to do it. We were prepared to sacrifice that particular election to send a very strong message on electoral reform. And 2 years down the road, we still have not received this electoral reform, but we will continue. One of the major priorities for me in my new term as a leader of the United Workers' Party is to continue to pursue electoral reform in a very vigorous manner. I still believe that we need electoral reform. We need a clean voters list. We need access to the radio station. We need a voter identification cards. These are things that are required, and these are things that we'll continue to push for.
Okay, I like that answer. So let's say we don't get the electoral reform. Let's say the Prime Minister wakes up tomorrow morning and say, well, election is in 30 days, and the electoral reform doesn't come through. Are we going to stand down again, or are we going to participate in the election?
Now, if I were to answer you straightforwardly, then I'd be giving away strategy. And I'm told that you never give the enemy your strategy beforehand.
Understood.
All right? You have to keep your enemy guessing, because if your enemy knows the way you're going to react, then they can take measures to counter it. So all I will say for now is, if and when that happens, we'll have a direct response for the Dominican public.
All right, I like your answer. You answer like a politician. So I'm gonna bring up this question here real fast. Drex, you have something to say, so you put up your hand.
No, I'm just paying attention to Mr. Fantaine in the way he answers, way he articulates. One of the things I listened to in your deliberation, you spoke about wasted years. And as a person on the ground, though, I get to meet a lot of young people. That's why I asked the first question to you, how would you relate to young people? And we must understand that this is about 25 years now since the incumbent has been running Dominica. And I would consider those on a large percentage as 25 wasted years. So I just want to, I just really want to, congratulate your ideas in terms of how you would resonate with young people. But let me tell you something. Young people today really looking for a difference. They're looking for a different traction. And when I say young people, necessarily people 16 years and 17 years. Yes, they are. Because if you take a walk up the road now in Wesley and you have any conversation with that group of people between 18 and 30, that's what they're going to tell you. Now, the tendency is they would want to go with somebody like them. So a Delbert Paris is somebody which will give you a run in that backyard. Now, it all depends on how you, as the leader of the party at present, how you're going to address that move. But in all essence, I understand your point of view. I understand where you're coming from. It's just that I I personally just realized it. 25 years, a lot of years, and to miss out on. And we have to come with a different perspective in terms of young people as to the way forward. That's the basic
But
level.
I'm not sure that necessarily is the case though, because you have to remember that we are where we are because of a young person. The prime minister was 41 years old. He was the essence of youth when he became prime minister, and see where he took the country. So I believe that the young people understanding that would have learned the lesson that is not necessarily a person like you. You want somebody, as I said, who can offer something to you. My experience, I believe, is very important in that regard, because I can bring a certain level of maturity. I can, and I'm not all that old in any case. I can still understand what they want, understand what they're going through, and the word we use is empathy. Be able to empathize with them, and that to me is very important. I don't think the young people are just going to simply follow any person just because they are young. No, I believe the young people looking for a better life, looking for an improvement in their circumstances. They're looking for somebody who can offer that to them, not somebody that because we are the same age. Okay, yes, but what beyond your age? What can you offer me? Do you have an idea to get me out of my situation? Do you have the vision for creating a better Dominica? These are the kind of things I believe that the young people want. I will not believe for 1 second that our young people are satisfied to be sitting on the blocks, wasting their lives away. I don't think so. I speak to them. I understand that it's broken dreams. I understand that they are in that position because they blindly followed a young person in the first case.
So
That make a lot of sense.
all right. So we have a question. I don't know if you heard about the incident that took place today with a young lady who expressed her views on the welfare system at the Chance facility. So I think this question right here is pertaining to that. I have pertaining to the letter from the young lady in the welfare system. How are we going to make a positive change in the welfare debt to better the
Department, I
children in
think it's
welfare
department.
custody?
Welfare department.
Or
It was
department.
department,
So
yeah.
better the children in the welfare custody. If the children are the future, this is a serious matter.
Firstly, let me just condole and express my basically my sympathies as well, with this young person. I mean, no young person should have to go through what I heard described today. And it certainly reflects very poorly on our society. I believe that the young people are among the most vulnerable in our society, very much like the elderlies in our society, and we must take care of them. As adults, we must be responsible for our young children. So when I hear those types of experiences, it really, it really sickens me, firstly, but also saddens me. And it's something that we have to look at. And I believe the best way to handle the situation is for there to be a thorough investigation of what exactly is going on. I mean, all of these, we still can say they're allegations until proven, but I believe that the accusations that were made, they're serious enough to warrant a serious investigation. And beyond that, I would like to see that there are measures, that there are systems in place. For example, in the United States, you have a system, a welfare system, so that if children have been exploited, there's a hotline that they can call, and then they can get a home visit, or they can get a visit to an institution where the authority is able to investigate. And that we need that type of robustness so that no one falls through the cracks. We have to take care of our young people, we have to take care of our children, and we have to ensure that those kinds of things that are described never happens again. But I think the onus is on government to do what is necessary to ensure that the welfare system, one, is well equipped, because for you to do that, you must have a welfare department that is well equipped with social workers, equipped with counselors, equipped with people who, for example, I'll give you a good example of that. I'm talking about being well equipped. I was talking to somebody recently, and they said that somebody called welfare on them, and the person came, and they did not ask the right questions. Right. So when they came, that tells me that this individual did not have the right training. So it's very important that you have the the people within that system and you have the right training. I cannot go beyond that in terms of the actual institution, since I don't know very much about it. I've been there physically, I've visited, but I cannot say much about the way it is run and so on. I would not go into that. But all I would say is that based on those allegations that have been made, it deserves a thorough investigation, and it deserves a strengthening of our welfare system to ensure that we're able to take care of our young people.
Let me ask this question, the first part of a question. Do you believe the opposition parties has done enough to force some form of electoral reform?
Have we done enough? Well, we have not gotten the results yet, so that probably explains that more needs to be done. You know, the thing about this is that it's really a dynamic process in the sense that there are different things you can do at different times. Okay, have we exploited or exhausted everything that we can do? The answer is no. There's a lot more that we can do. So I'll definitely agree with this individual that maybe we have not done enough, maybe we have not been forceful enough, maybe we have not been expressive enough, you know. But at the end of the day, we have to force this government in a way, because it looks like they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it voluntarily. All right. So it looks like we have to up our game on this. And that is something that we have to think about as an opposition party, and how best we can ensure that we get electoral reform. That is something, that's the demand that all of Dominica requires, and it's something that we have to keep working very hard on.
Dr. Fantaine, I came with a list of questions, but I threw my list away because our comment section has brought in a lot of questions that, you know, that are pertinent to our conversation. So I'm just giving you a heads up, you know?
Yes.
So this is a young lady stated, are you saying that being young is a barrier to leading a political party, even if the person possesses the necessary skills/qualities?
No, I never said that. I said the young people remember the experience of not a young person. The prime minister, he had a degree at the time when, you know, that was not a barrier for him. He became prime minister at the age of 31. But I'm saying that because of his lack of experience, he led the country down a path that we are all regretting now. A number of persons who said to give the young man a chance are regretting this because he lacked the necessary skills, you know. But it's not something just based on age. Obviously, it depends upon your skill set. It depends upon your experience. It depends on what you bring. All I'm saying that in this case, what I can offer, this level of experience, this level of maturity, this level of being able to respond to the needs of the people. But it's nothing about this. It's nothing about dissing. I'm not dissing you. If I'm not, you know, I'm certainly not. That's not what I'm about. I'm about making a case for Dr. Thomson Fantaine as the leader of the United Workers' Party and the potential Prime Minister of Dominica.
All right. So the person also asked, what sets you apart or makes you well suited to lead the party?
I think one of my strongest, if you like, gifts or abilities is to be able to win over people, to be able to draw people. And I believe that is very important in any political arena, and more so in Dominica, where our society seems to be extremely polarized. You have persons who tell you that since they were children, since they started voting, they were voting Labour, they will continue to vote it and so on. When you have a type of society like that, you want to have the ability to be able to appeal to people on the other side and then draw them to your side. And I think that is probably one of my strongest gifts, that ability to be persuasive, that ability to be able to convince people that, hey, I can offer you and sell that vision of a better Dominica to them. And to me, that is what I believe above all else, you know, in addition, of course, to my training and my professionalism and my experience. But the main thing to me is that ability to appeal, if you like, to the other side and to be seen as non-threatening, but being able to really, because at the end of the day, I tell people that elections are about who gets the most votes, which party can convince the majority of people. The party that is able to convince the majority of people is the party that wins the election. As simple as that.
True. So let me ask you this question before we continue. Dominica is a very broken economy, is a very broken country of broken people. What would be one of the first things you do when you get in office to change that situation?
Yeah, so I understand the Dominican economy, and it goes back to a very long period. I mean, when I was in my youth as a young kid, 18, 19 years, I was responsible for calculating the growth in the economy. That was my job. You know, how do you calculate the gross domestic product? So I understand the way the economy, I understand what the Dominican economy needs. And what Dominican economy needs that can immediately revitalize the economy is a tremendous level of investment in agriculture, agro-processing, and the water industries. As number one. The second thing is an investment in our young people. If you're able to get those two things done, invest in agriculture, invest in water industries, invest in the young people, then you stand a very good chance of turning this country around in just a couple of years.
Now, I don't know how to answer. I don't know the person's name or whatever. I wonder how Dixon Michel from Grenada would assess that response about young people.
Well, I think Dixon Michel is in his 40s, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say he's a young person. He's younger than I am, but not necessarily a young person. So, no, but age is not, you know, I don't want us to be spending time tonight, you know, discussing age. You know, I think what I want us to discuss is people's abilities, okay? You know, do you have a vision for the country? Can you turn as you asked, the question that you just asked me, do you have the ability to turn the economy around? Do you have the ability to create jobs, good paying jobs for the people? These are the kinds of things that you should be asking, not necessarily how old I am. You know, you could have a 20-year-old who could do those things. All right. So it's not a question of age, it's a question of the abilities of the individuals.
Okay. Okay. And you have that ability, and you are ready to show the people of Dominica that you are ready to take them from where we are now to the future that would be beneficial for all Dominicans.
You know, absolutely. And his ability that I've demonstrated. I mean, Dominica is a population of 70,000 people. I have worked in economies with 70 million people, over 100 million people. So the ability to do things that would elevate a 60,000 population is something that I believe I can do in a way that would be evident, in a way that would be clear for all to see, you know. So it's something that I said that I've been preparing for all of my life. And it's something that I believe I can bring to the people of Dominica. And to do it for a population of 60,000 people is not as difficult as all that. And it's only because, and I can speak like that, because of the background, because of the experience.
This is another comment. The party needs a radical change. You're looking at what you want for your party instead of looking at what the people that can actually and can put you in power. People look at a fresh new face, point blank.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand this question, because here it was, we were just talking about the general election and about young people and how we can revitalize the economy. If you're talking about revitalizing the economy, it's not for the party. The party is a means to getting you into that position. Because for me to contend for prime minister, I have to be elected by the party. I have to go up on the side of the party. Okay, so I'm not sure I understand that particular question, because the answer that I've been given is how we elevate, how we bring that development to Dominica, how we revive the Dominican economy. And when that happens, that is not just for the party, that is for all of Dominica.
So now this other question says, do you think you have to be a political leader to improve the economy? Or if your party wins and you are given the position of Minister of Finance, that you can still turn the economy around, provided that your party supports your ideas?
Well, you see, I mean, that question is an interesting one. But the way I would like to answer this is that you predominantly want to be able to advance the vision and the ideas that you have. Okay. And a lot of those vision, a lot of the vision that I have can be done as a minister of finance. It is not. It does not mean that I absolutely have to be the leader of the party. It does not mean that. All I'm saying is that as a leader of the party, it offers me a firmer, if you like, a firmer footing to be able to advance exactly what I want, But it does not mean that some of those ideas obviously would come from as a minister of finance, and I mean, I have, for example, when I went to St. Kitts, I was not the prime minister of St. Kitts. I was just a consultant to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. I was able to get things done. So it is.
So let me ask this question: If the current government here now seeks your employ to help improve the economy as an economist and as a Dominican, would you accept or would you decline?
Boy, your audience has some tough questions, man. Wow, interestingly enough, a couple of weeks ago, I heard the Prime Minister declare that he's open for inviting members of the opposition who have ideas to actually join him and so on. I think it's a little bit late for that, in terms of joining with the Prime Minister to do this. I mean, he's so far beyond repair in the sense that he's gone so far out that I'm not sure joining in his effort now would make that difference. What is needed now is for the Prime Minister of Dominica, who's been there, quite frankly, way too long, to give way for new thinking, new ideas to come in and take this country and move it forward.
Okay. So you would decline?
I would have to decline because there's no guarantee that having accepted it, that my ideas would be taken forward, so I would have to decline. I would tell the Prime Minister respectfully, Prime Minister, I believe your time is up. Your time is done, as we would say in the days gone by. Your time is done. You've done your share. Time to step aside and allow new ideas, allow new thinking to come to the fore. I believe that is the best way forward for Dominica at this time.
Okay. I mean, I stand in agreement with you. I think that his time is done. I think so.
Absolutely.
So. Can we touch on the international airport that is being done in Wesley, or is that something that's out of your spectrum?
Yes, we can. We can, absolutely.
Because that is affecting the village that I am from on a personal note. It's also affecting, I had a house there and it's no longer there anymore. So I just wanted to ask you, in your opinion, was that a good move or was that a large strain on our economy on a whole?
About a month ago, I spent some time in the village of Wesley and I spoke to people. I saw the health issues that people are having. I saw a number of persons who were not compensated. I saw the mess, and that's what it is, the mess that is the international airport. And you wonder whether things could have been done differently. So, for example, if you're going to do something like that, shouldn't the people be removed from the noise, the pollution, the dust, the explosions at night? You really believe that, and I believe that more should have been done to protect the people of the village from that. So that area was chosen for the airport for whatever reason, but it was supposed to have been done in a way that would not injure the people of Wesley. And having spoken to them, having visited on the ground with them, in fact, Clint spent some of that time with me as well, going from house to house in Wesley, you get the sense that the people of Wesley have been severely injured by the airport, and that should not be. It is that's one way. Physically, they have been impacted, but the fact that you have so little opportunity, you have a multi-billion-dollar project right in your backyard, and you're not able to even benefit from it. That to me is even a greater tragedy, that the people of Wesley are not able to come out better in terms of being able to get opportunities and to get the jobs and to get the work that's rightfully theirs in this airport. And that's one of the reasons why I have maintained that when we assume the reins of government, that we will ensure that any major project, 80 to 90% of the people working that project will have to be from Dominica. Where we cannot get the expertise in Dominica, we'll go outside. but the priority must be given to the people of Dominica. That is an assurance that I've made over and over again to the people of Dominica, and I will continue to make. And it became very clear to me, looking at what happened in Wesley, that the people of Wesley have not been treated fairly at all. They have not been. And I would make an appeal to the government for those who have not received their compensation, for those whose homes have been taken and they have not been paid, for those whose lands have been taken and have not been fairly compensated, to do it. And you also got the sense as well, based on what I was told, that some people were compensated based upon their political affiliation. So, for example, one lady with probably 3-4 times as much land and crops as her neighbor gets less. How does that happen? It happens because it was based upon the person's fidelity or loyalty to the ruling government, and that should not be. So you need a certain level of impartiality, and the people of West Asia, they have not received that, and I very much sympathize with them. The noise pollution, the health hazard. Imagine I visited a particular home. It was already nighttime, and this poor lady had on shades because of the dust that she gets bombarded with all day long in her eyes, and that really should not be. It really pains me to no end to see the level of suffering of the people of Wesley when you think that this could have been handled differently. But again, it speaks to the incompetence of this government. It speaks to a government that does not understand how to run things and has made a mess of practically everything. A mess of agriculture, a mess of the health system, a mess of the education system, a mess of the social system. You name it, they made a mess of it. And that is what we have in Dominica. And that's the reason why I said earlier that the only solution now is for this government to make way for new thinking, for new blood, and for new ideas.
A commenter stated that the United Workers' Party does a lot of talking on Q95, and the people are demanding something vibrant and better. Is that a sentiment that you share, or is there something else?
Yeah, I think the person is referring rather to my very first comment. One of the first things I mentioned when we started discussion is the need for our party to be on the ground, in the ears of the people. When I said to be in the ears of the people, I did not mean necessarily for radio. I meant physically, literally on the ground. And one of the things that I will be instituting in 2025 is what I call the pull-up Saturdays, where members of the party and supporters will pull up in a particular community for that day, Saturday. And we'll spend the time in the village. We'll talk to the people. We'll join them in dominoes. We'll join them in sports, whatever it is that they're doing in that community. If it means having to help them to clear a drain, whatever it is, but we'll be pulling up in those communities, because I believe in the need for an active engagement of the people with the people where they are on the ground. So I just wanted to reiterate that. So I thank the caller for allowing me to restate that very important point, because I don't want anybody to have any illusions about my determination as the leader of the United Workers' Party to be on the ground with the people of Dominica, along with other party members and supporters, to draw across our message and to again reveal our vision for the future of Dominica to them.
Someone said, what are your plans if you become Prime Minister tomorrow? 5 things you would do. 5 things.
All right, so 5 things I would do as the Prime Minister of Dominica: create jobs, create jobs, create jobs, create jobs, create jobs. Okay, I say that jokingly, but that would be the focus. So everything that I would do, that's at the back of my mind, right? Because I'm talking about how do you improve the life of the people of Dominica. So when I talk about revitalizing the agriculture sector as number 1, I'm thinking about putting our farmers to work. I'm thinking about putting young people to work in factories. And when I talk about the knowledge-based industry, I'm thinking about putting young people to work. So everything that you do, every engine that you talk about, is at the back of it is job creation. At the back of it is creating opportunities for the people of Dominica to live a better standard of living, to have a better quality of life. Because after all, we are only in this for a few amount of years. And I believe that the same opportunities that Dominicans, by the tens of thousands, rush out of Dominica to find, that they can find those opportunities in Dominica. And that is what drives me. I want the people of Dominica to stay in Dominica, to find the work, okay, and not to be, working
Running
two,
away.
3 jobs in New York in the middle of winter, but finding good paying jobs in Dominica that will allow them to enjoy a certain quality of life that they're now only finding when they go to St. Martin or to Guadeloupe and so on. I want that to be happening in Dominica. So that is what I would do immediately. And that is what it is. From day one, we'd hit the ground, creating opportunities for the people of Dominica to improve their lives and to have a better standard of living.
Will you continue the CBI program?
For me, the CBI program has to be phased out. Obviously, that is the only thing now that appears to be bringing any kind of revenues into Dominica. So it would need to be phased out because in any case, it is not sustainable. Sure. I believe the way the CBI program is going, we have a population now of 70,000. We have close to 45, even 50,000 passports under the CBI program. That is not sustainable. We cannot have a situation where we have more persons under the CBI program than we have persons living in Dominica. That is not tenable. And I believe at some time, the whole way the program is set up, it will come to an end. So it's not so much a question of continuing, it's a question of finding opportunities, of finding options that are different from the CBI program. And that's the reason why, if you notice, I'm not talking about the CBI. And the reason I've not talked about the CBI is because I believe that there are things that we can do differently in Dominica to create jobs. Because the CBI, it has created a lot of money. It has minted millionaires, but these are not Dominican millionaires necessarily. We have a couple, yes, but for the most part, it has benefited foreigners, not Dominica. I'm looking at areas that can benefit first and foremost the people of Dominica, and that is not for the CBI program.
I could go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't really want to put you on the spot too much in terms of what I want to ask of you, but you see, I'm a Wesley man. I'm a real Wesley man. And I'm very passionate when it comes to Wesley. Because you see, I was born here, I grew up here. I didn't really leave, just about 3 years out. But out of my 50 years, I don't see it as much. Now, we would agree that at present, our village or constituency, because it's not Wesley alone, Woodfordale, right there, it's the same thing, Palm Tree, We are more or less in a sufferation mode. And I don't want to be selfish. It resonates all through Dominica. I'm a person interested in farming. I'm a person interested in regional trade and stuff like that. I know you have ideas on that because at one time they vilified you and called you a huckster. The kind of thing.
Which I proudly bear. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, at present, there are a lot of people, whether grown folks, middle-aged folks, young people, who really, they can't relate in anything else but what they have. So they own land. They want to make the land productive. I know you're really going to go into all the specifics of it, but just give like a broad overview to the people listening, because there are people listening, as to that's what one of the questions was, as to where you would channel your energies along that line. And also, we will all agree that you have a over $2 billion development happening in Wesley, which we just spoke about a while ago. And it doesn't really resonate within our constituency or in the immediate area. And when I say the immediate area, I'm speaking from Castle Bruce all the way down to Vilcaz. You're not really seeing the breakdown of that money in our area. Now, the question I want to ask you on that is, let's say Dr. Thomson Fantaine become the Prime Minister tomorrow morning. What advances? I know it's not going to be something that can happen right away because maybe there are so much things tied up in it that you'll have to untie. But at least I know be it you or anybody else who has put some energy in there to untie a few things, at least to give the people around here a good hope, in terms of inclusion into whatever is taking place down there. So I just want you to explain, to just, maybe you don't need to go into the whole one on one is two and so on, but just an overview as to your action going forward where the airport is concerned, and your overview on your action going where trade agriculture is concerned for our area and Dominica on a whole.
Okay, excellent. So let me deal with the airport issue first, and then I'll talk about the agriculture. I think I was with you, Clint. You remember
Yeah.
when we saw this group of foreigners in Western? I was like, who are these guys? And I think you're the one who told me these guys are from Thailand, right? So what it means
In
is that the government,
Indonesia.
Indonesia, sorry, yes, Indonesia,
Yeah.
right? What was happening there is that you have on that particular project not only Chinese, but you now have Indonesians who have been brought in, and they're replacing Dominicans on that project. That could never happen under my watch as prime minister. Never, ever. Okay, because I would never substitute foreign workers for domestic workers. So we have to find a way to address that issue to begin with. How do we guarantee that we have a certain number of Dominicans having first choice, having priority to work on projects that are funded by our money, by our revenues? So that would have necessarily involved rewriting of contracts, revoking certain contracts and having them redone and so on. All of that would have to take place with a focus on putting the people of Dominica first. So that's one. We certainly would have to deal with it in that way, that a project of that magnitude must have a certain amount of money staying within the country. Because as it is now, I can guarantee you the 500,000, 2,000 Indonesians who are there, the bulk of what they get, probably 80, 90% of what they're going to make will be repatriated to their families, to their country, to Indonesia. That money needs to stay in Dominica. It needs to multiply within the local economy to create new opportunities, to create other jobs, to allow more people to get spin-offs out of it. So that would be the way I would deal with that particular issue, to ensure that we have more local involvement, but not only more local involvement, majority local involvement on any project that is funded by Dominica money. Okay, that's one. With regards to the agriculture, one of the ways that I believe we can address the agriculture problem is that there are persons with good land, good agriculture land, who may not themselves want to farm those lands. Okay, so what you'd have to do, you'd have to put in place a system that would allow those lands to be leased for agriculture, so that the landowners, who themselves may be too old or may not have an interest in working this land, but the land will be working for them. So you have a system by which your agriculture is so well organized that persons who want to work the land, but who themselves do not have land or may not have the money to buy the land, will be able to lease those lands. So the owners of these lands, they get some income, and the persons who want to work, they're able to work and get income as well. That is one way you can address this, because there are lots of abandoned estates in Dominica, a lot of abandoned lands in Dominica. These have to be converted if you're going to make agriculture what we want it to be. And I'm saying this because I believe that agriculture can revitalize the Dominican economy way beyond what we saw in banana, because we are going beyond bananas, we are going beyond the mere exportation of our raw material. We want to add value to our agriculture. Adding value means you must have a series of factories that grinding out, making rope, for example, from the banana plant. You have factories that are making plantain chips or making flour from cassava. There are lots of things that you can do with the agriculture product that will add value to it, that will keep as much money in there as possible. But one of the things we must do is to have greater utilization of these lands all across Dominica. And every time I drive through Dominica, I'm like, boy, look at land. Look at this land just there. making bush, it's just a growing bush, just, and great land. If you want to cultivate it, land that has been lying fallow. And I remember passing through some, and I said, but when I was a child driving on those roads, you would see all of the citrus, you see all of those bananas, all of these cultivated areas of Dominica. The vast majority of those areas are now on the bush, under what we call hazier. They're just lying there, just waiting to be once again rejuvenated, once again brought back to life. And you can do it in such a way that the landowners benefit from it without having to sell the lands, because I believe land is a very valuable asset that people need to hold on to. And I don't want, for example, Dominicans to be selling their lands to foreigners to build homes. And so I believe that you need to hold on to it, that Dominicans need to hold on to lands that they have in Dominica and not be tempted to necessarily sell those lands. So coming to this again, you have to put in place legislation that will protect local landowners. You have to put in place legislation. So we have to revise the Alien Landholding Act in Dominica. That is something that needs to be revised with a view to ensuring that the people of Dominica continue to have a major stake in the lands of Dominica. After all, we don't have a lot of land. I'm in a country, for example, when I'm in South Sudan, a country in which Dominica can go into probably a couple million times. Okay, so that is land. You have a 15 by 30 country, of probably 305 square miles. That's a little bit of land. So we need to be able to protect that for this generation and for future generations. So legislation, contracts that will allow the use of the land, and that would also allow people to make money out of it, is how I would answer that particular issue of all of these lands that we now have in Dominica.
So basically, you would make like estates where certain products will be, or certain agricultural produce will be produced on certain portions of land, basically. Is that something?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there is a way you can zone off the country. Certain areas can probably better grow Irish potatoes, or the areas cassava. The experts would have to advise us on that, of course. But I'm sure that there are ways of doing it to ensure that you get this. And not only that, but and Clint, I think you were also thinking of our produce. Now, I am very reluctant. When I was in Dominica a couple of years ago, I started this gaining access to the Matnik market. But one of the things that struck me very early on, I was accessing, for example, and I'll use that example, cinnamon spice, right, from the farmers in Dominica. I think at the time we were paying them probably $25 a pound. But then I would take the same cassava to Martinique, but they would grind this. They would grind this down, right? So they would take it from Dominica, grind it down, add value to it, and sell it, so that the pound that they would pay me $25 for, they end up making probably $50, $75 out of that same pound of cassava. Okay, I want us to be able to do that in Dominica, so that when we sell a pound of cinnamon, it is sold for not $25, but for $50, $75, because we're able to add the value to it. That's the kind of agriculture I want to promote in Dominica, not necessarily just planting to export our raw produce. We'll do some of that, but the focus will be on agro-processing, adding value to those products.
I don't want to come across as somebody who is anti-regional, you understand? I am for that, because I could go to a point. We generally in the West area, our largest crop would be plantains. And I mean, we ship tons of plantains on a weekly basis. But in one particular instance, through Dexia, we ship plantains to one particular company in Antigua, and we see what it does with it. And, and I was, to be honest with you, I was actually in my planting field where the owner of that company came. And one day I was just going through my phone on a like a rest period, and I saw the Prime Minister of Antigua loading cartons of plantain chips to go to Sweden. And I was flabbergasted when I saw it. I said, but wait, no, what already happening there? You understand what I'm saying? No.
Yes.
You see, part of the argument is, at this point in time, you have a lot of educated people around Dominica who who may want to channel their energies down that line, but the system at present is not allowing them to. So that is why when I started to, to bring my argument, I started with the young people thing, because you hear them every day. They want to get involved, but the present system doesn't allow them to go that direction. So listening to you is a whole different opener. A lot of them listening now, I can see Richie reading the comments and the questions there. So it's a good thing, It's a good thing listening to the conversation going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when the aid bank was formed, that was the idea. When Patrick John set up the aid bank in the 70s, the idea was that you would have a bank where the farmers, where entrepreneurs who want to set up a factory, for example, would be able to go and get a soft loan and do it. I know a few struggling persons who are making planting chips in Dominica, but nothing to the scale that we see in Antigua. What happened with Antigua? This particular people got great support from the Prime Minister of Antigua. And that's the reason why he was the one loading the first boxes, because he had seen the vision and he had contributed to it. Why can't we get the same thing in Dominica? Why can't the aid bank, for example, sponsor an entrepreneur, Urbanist Farms, for example, give them the resources to be able to build a factory, get the equipment, and export to other parts of the globe, So again, is a complete failure of this government that I lament the most. And there is so much that can be done in Dominica. There is so much that can be done. I mean, Dominica is one of the most blessed countries in the world. And I'm not saying that because I'm from Dominica. I'm saying that from someone who's seen quite many, many countries. Dominica has a unique blend in terms of what it has, its people, its natural resource, but we've never found a way to really get all of that together because our government is busy getting rich and forgetting the people, ignoring the people, and that simply cannot continue.
There's this young man from the Benz area. We did a live, I think 2 nights back, and I can attest to it. I was in Portsmouth. Well, I've been seeing his products, but I was in Portsmouth a few Saturdays back. And when I saw his production, I mean, he is, without any assistance, he's proving that he has the potential to do great things. But like I said, and he's not a young person. He's not a teenager, he's not a 20, he's not in 20s. We're about the same age. And it shows you there are people who are willing to go forward, but they just doesn't get that traction from what is happening in Dominica at the moment. What is happening here is just a situation where we are here and we are forced to agree to a situation we don't want to agree to. And then you have big people, I'm gonna have to say it like that, big people succumbing to beg Thomson Fantaine, to beg Lennox Linton, to beg Edison James. That you see that kind of thing there, Doc? You see that?
Yes.
I honestly, as a Dominican, I feel ashamed about it. I cannot conform to it. And I will spend my last days trying to fight that system down. That is just how I see it, Yeah. So it's basically that, we need to get out of that direction we go in. We honestly, be it prime minister or president or minister of this or that, we need to join forces to get Dominica out of that direction. It doesn't make any sense. Down the road, we cannot, like you said, we just have a few more years to live. How can we leave a society, which is Dominica, under that spell? We need to get it out of there. And so far, I listened to your conversation. It's fruitful.
I want to say thank you, Dr. I'm not finishing, but I just want to say thank you again for your contribution so far. How do Dominicans build wealth? Passport savings accounts don't build wealth. As Minister of Finance, what investment instrument would you introduce?
That's an excellent question. I thank the person for that question. Now, there is in economics, we have what we call the rule of 72, right? And the rule of 72 just allows you to be able to find out how long it will take for you to double any level of investment. So if I invest, say, $1,000 at 6%, okay, by the rule of 72, it will take me 72 over 6, 12 years to get an extra $1,000 at that 6%. Okay, so is that clear? That's the rule of 72. So if I've invested $1,000, it will take me at 6%, it will take me 12 years to get that 1,000 to double to $2,000. It means that at the current rates that we have in the banks are giving you 3%. If you invest $1,000 now, it will take you 24 years for you to get $2,000 from that 1,000. So you can't wait 24 years to make $1,000, right? So the question is, how do you build wealth? The majority of Americans, for example, the way they make their money, the way they make their wealth is through investments in the stock market. Okay, and that's my area, of course, in financial economics. They're able to invest in businesses, invest in the stocks of businesses, and by the value of the stocks, of the buying and selling of those stocks or bonds and different instruments that they have, that is how they actually build wealth. What we would need to do in Dominica is to introduce our young people to that type of environment where, for example, they can build what we call investment clubs, okay? And which is, for example, I'm part of that in the United States, where we have a group of people, about 15, 20 people, that come together. Everybody contributes a $200 or $300 a month. You pool those resources and you invest it in the stock market. That's one exceptional way and great way to be able to earn resources or to earn income or to build wealth. Because as this individual say, you're not going to be able to build wealth by putting your money, as good as it is in a credit union, you're not able to build wealth that way. Yeah, if you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, that's different. But for the average person making $1,000, $1,500 a month, you're going to be always and forever living from hand to mouth, because that is simply not good enough. So there are investment opportunities, there are investment options. And these are things I would like to teach the people of Dominica. These are things I would like to help the people of Dominica with. Areas where they can make the money work in a way that is transparent, in a way may have a little bit of risk, but at the end of the day, it will be overall beneficial to them. That's knowledge that I possess, and these are things that we can certainly do. As a government, I would like to encourage, and there are different ways you can do it within the country itself. I don't have time, of course, tonight to go into it, but there are different ways you can help grow wealth beyond just the basic savings account. And that is something I'm very much interested in doing in Dominica that can help our young people, again, accumulate, gain wealth, be able to build a home, take care of themselves and their families.
We have a question. Domlec has a monopoly on electricity in Dominica. If that's the case, have you ever looked into breaking this monopoly and creating opportunities for new companies to produce electricity, including the use of alternative source of electricity or potential drive down to potentially drive down the cost of electricity?
No, one of the problems that you have in Dominica is the size of the country. In the sense that because of the size of the country and the amount of in what we call investment outlay, the amount of investments you have to put into this, it may not be convenient to have more than one electricity company. It is simply not viable enough. Okay, because you don't have enough, the customer base to sustain 2 or 3 economies. So what you have is monopoly behavior. Now, when you have that, what is required is for you to be able to regulate these monopolies. So a sensible government, understanding that the monopoly must operate, meaning that it is only one, the market size can only accommodate one company, then you find ways of controlling this monopoly. And that is where the whole question of renewables come in, because there is a way in which, for example, you can have individuals be able to sell power back into the grid. So if you have if you have a solar, for example, if you use solar panels, or if you have other means of electricity, it's in your own, you can sell it back into the grid. But that's a discussion again we have to have. I understand that electricity rates are simply too high for Dominica, and part of the reason why it is so high is again because we rely so heavily on fossil fuels. You use diesel to run those turbines. It's about time that we begin to shift into renewables. You have now a lot more efficient hydro processes that can be used. We can use the sun, we can use the wind, we can use the waves. Dominica actually can become a model for the varying uses of sustainable energy. But that's a discussion I have a lot of interest in, and I believe that we can do a lot better in, given the fact that we are blessed with all of those natural attributes: geothermal, solar, wind, hydro, wave. All of those can be used in a way that is sustainable and can bring the costs down to the consumer.
I have a comment and a wait, Alex. Let me read this comment and question. Despite the claims of unfair elections, there are persons who just cannot relate or trust the United Workers' Party. Hence, they choose not to vote for the party. As we speak currently, what is the UWP doing to gain and in such case regain the trust and following of the public so that it's an easy choice to put that X next to the UWP in that election, in the next election?
You know, I think the way in which you gain and keep the trust of people is to be there with them. So people trust you, people believe in you if you're there with them, and if you're able to, in a way, sell your vision to them, if they believe that you can do better for them, if they believe that you truly care for them. So we have to portray ourselves as a party that cares for the people of Dominica. We care about their well-being. We care about their welfare. We will promise, for example, to invest in a health system that will take care of them in their old age. We'll have an insurance system, for example, that can guarantee that when you are sick, you get the best health care that is available to you. That's the way. These are the kind of policies that we need to promote, that we need to sell to the people of Dominica. But above all, I think it's important that we have a conversation with the people of Dominica, that we don't seem to be shouting at them, screaming at them, or running them away. But we are making them feel comfortable then. And I believe one of the best ways of doing this is to simply lower the temperature. Okay, we are a way too divisive society. My experience in South Sudan has taught me that what we have in Dominica, although we don't have a problem of tribes, we have turned our elections, we have turned our political system into a tribal system, so that people identify themselves as a laborite. I'm a laborite. What does that mean? I'm a UW. What does that mean? All right. We give ourselves labels so that we can identify with a certain group. And when we identify with a certain group, it gives us now carte blanche to hate this other group, to see this other group as our enemy, to see this other group as being different from us. But if we look at ourselves as Dominicans, if we view ourselves as being on this little rock, 30 by 15 feet across, we view ourselves as on that rock together. When the hurricane hits, it hits every single home the same way. When the rain falls, it falls on every single roof just about the same way. If we begin to view ourselves first as Dominicans, then it becomes a lot easier for us to work with each other. It becomes a lot easier for us to listen to each other against screaming or shouting at each other. And that's the kind of politics that I want to promote in Dominica, a politics that is not divisive, a politics that does not hang on to a color and say, well, that is my color, and I'm going to stick to it, whether it causes me to lose an election or not. We are in this politics thing because we believe that we can do better for the people of Dominica. It does the Dominican public no good if we hold on to our beliefs, we hold on to, and then at the end of the day, we're not able to influence policy. Because when you are in opposition in Dominica, no matter how good you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how gifted you are, as long as you're in opposition, you're not allowed to contribute to the development. You're not allowed to contribute to the debate and to the policies that help change things in Dominica. So it does your party no good to be stayed in opposition. And how do you get in government? You get into government by being able to appeal to the other side, appeal to everybody, say, hey, we are all Dominicans together. Let's forget for a while our color. Why don't we think of the best team that can lead this country? Why don't we think of the best people, the best minds, the most sincere minds? Why don't we think about that and work around that so we can put in place a government that cares about us? And I think that is how we win the trust of the Dominican public, to show them that we are different, to show them that we're not screaming at them, we're not shouting at them, that we have a big tent, that everyone is welcome. We're not going to run your way, and that we want everybody. We want everybody on board. As simple as that.
Clint, go ahead.
Yes. Over the years, a few Dominicans made investment. Okay, I have a two-part question, right? A few Dominicans made investments into shipping, and recently, our government, they brought up an idea that they were going to purchase 2 vessels for carrying Dominican produce. Now, as a person involved in the produce business, it became very clear that that idea was not something that was real. It wasn't real. Now, my idea would be, and all I need from you, Doc, is just to elaborate on it. My idea at the time was, why didn't the government put in a facility at the aid bank to have the people who already invested in those boats in Dominica and the Portsmouth area? Some of them not from Portsmouth, but you mostly see them in Portsmouth. Why didn't the government put in a facility at the aid bank and maybe pass some kind of law to have these people with those investments seek out the financial assistance to upgrade their vessel? Because when you look at it, it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot for the state to bring 2 new boats to carry vegetables, if you want to call it that. Right, you're going to help the farmers to reach the market. But at the same time, what you're doing, you actually clearing the table with the people with the investment already. So I'm looking at inclusion. On the other hand, for my next question would be, I don't really have the specifics in terms of the data, but it is very clear that at this present stage, Dominica is, when it comes on import versus export, it's really not balanced. So from you as a new prime minister, new government, what I really want to find out is, like I really know already, but just for the benefit of the public, what I really want to ask is, what would be your first move in terms of trying to balance up the trade deficit, including Dominicans? If you can elaborate on that for me on those two items, I'd be very happy, because a lot of people want to know.
All right, let me talk about the boats first. It's not government's place to be investing in boats. I think that is a wrong-headed policy. That is better handled by the private sector. So instead of the government deciding to buy those boats, as you said, they should make a facility available, and they could guarantee the facility. And what I mean is that you can offer a government guarantee, so that the person that has the expertise, what they bring in is the expertise as a boat captain, and you can also probably get the boat. But the government now takes the guarantee with the bank, so that in the case of the fault, they would cover it. Okay, so that is how you actually help that sector, not by the government itself purchasing the boat. So I believe that is what is required, and that's how you better deal with that situation. And as you said, especially if you have a situation where you have persons who have shown they have skin in the game, they have literally gone out there and already done the purchase. As you said, the best thing to do would be to help them to actually be able to get the resources to maintain those so that they can offer that service, because there is great need for it. When we were doing the exports into Martinique, we had a serious issue with shipping. You were never sure 1 week for the next if you're going to get a ship to take it to Martinique. And imagine you're buying produce and you're not sure if you're able to get it shipped out. All right. So you need those guarantees. All right. Now on the issue of the trade deficit, I think the numbers is more like about 12 million total in exports and over 400 million in imports. That is a huge lopsided trade deficit. Now, how do you deal with the trade deficit? You deal with the trade deficit by upping your exports. How do you increase your exports? The areas I spoke about earlier. You go into manufacturing, you go into the water industries, you go into the services, because you can export different types of services. You can create opportunities here within Dominica that will allow, for example, the setting up of offshore insurance companies and different brokers and so on that would help in trade. There are different things that you can do within the country that would allow you to now increase your exports. So you increase your exports not only of the goods, the raw material or the raw dasheen and plantains, but you also increase your exports in terms of the manufactured goods, in terms of the services. And then you would also focus on import substitution. Out of that $400 million, that's just one example I'm going to give to you. Out of this $400 million of exports, of imports that we have into Dominica, at least $3 to $4 million of that is poultry. We're importing fowls from overseas. Now, can you have a local poultry industry, for example, that would allow you to reduce your value of imports by $4 or $5 million, and that $4 or $5 million now circulates within the economy? Okay, and you can do that for a series of ways. You can provide incentives for local people. So one of the main barriers, for example, to a poultry industry in Dominica is feed. The feeds are very expensive. Now, can you have a situation where you can have a feed factory in Dominica that takes care of the needs of Dominica, but also exports, and will allow you now to be able to grow the birds in Dominica and to completely cut off? That's just one example where you can cut off that particular trade. So there are areas within that trade thing that you can look at that would allow you. So what you're doing at the same time that you're creating jobs, you're reducing the trade deficit, and you're creating a better living standard within the country. And that is what you really want to do. But these are things that takes a lot of careful planning, thoughtful planning. And one thing that is very certain to me now, looking at the performance of this government, they simply do not have it. And especially when you have a government that employs young, inexperienced people. Now, there is something to experience, People say, yeah, youth, yeah, let's walk happily along with the young people. You're young, I'm young, let's walk together. At the end of the day, what are you offering me? What can you offer me? And we have a situation in Dominica where we have a very youthful cabinet, but what are they bringing to the table? Are they thinking of things like that? Are they thinking of, boy, how can we reduce the imports of chicken into Dominica? How can we reduce the imports of flour? You think we cannot manufacture cassava flour in Dominica? That would probably help reduce. It's healthier, it's better than the starchy flours we import. How can we reduce the potatoes that we import into Dominica? You need people to be thinking along those lines, but it is a certain level of knowledge, it is a certain level of experience to be able to bring those solutions to the table. The thing about it is that you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know something, you don't know that you don't know it,
True.
And that's a problem that lack of experience always shows. Somebody who is more experienced, who has been there, who knows those things, they know what they can do and what they can bring to the table.
Because while you're speaking about the flour, I remember about 4 years ago, Dr. Dave Lloyd wanted to introduce a certain variety of breadfruits into Dominica.
Mm.
And I didn't think, that's my thinking. I guess it was maybe because of the color of Dr. Dave Lloyd and people like Mr. Errol Emmanuel and them guys, so everything went through. Because if you look at it, Dominica already have an indigenous breadfruit growth, and then bringing in another type of breadfruit, we could easily through that investment create flour in Dominica.
Mm.
But again, it comes down to how our government sees us and what they're willing to invest in the people of Dominica. I want to use one more point. We are busy giving a farmer a goat, two goats, or two sheep, or two maybe a bull and a cow. But there's no, how I say, there's no system in place to really protect livestock in Dominica. Why I say that is because I myself have been a pork farmer a few years ago, and I had to discontinue. Why? Because there's nothing in Dominica that protects me or protects Richie or Dr. Thomson Fantaine when he comes on trading his meat, because you still have players on the market that will overload the market with cheaper meat from outside. You understand?
Mhm.
So so down the lines of agriculture again, somebody like you make it to the top. I would expect you to bring that protection to that type of farmer where he can produce his meat and sell it on the same market as the same rate with the importers, if you understand what I'm saying. So I'd be
Mhm.
looking at that from your government.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way you do that is, if you have a particular industry that you want to build or protect, you'd have to introduce tariffs on the imports so that you bring the price, you said you bring the price up, because you don't want, there was a time, I don't know if it still happens, but there was a time when we imported cheaper tomatoes and carrots. And I'm not sure if it still happens in Dominica. I don't buy vegetables in the supermarkets in Dominica. So I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but I know that there's some supermarkets in Dominica that were quite happy to import tomatoes from the US into Dominica, and they would compete at lower prices than our tomatoes grown in Dominica organically. Under United Workers' Party government, which I lead, that's not going to happen. You have to offer some protections to your local farmers so that people will have the zeal to go in, and import, and also, if the issue is the price being too high for the consumer, there were different avenues by which the government can actually subsidize agriculture. In most, even industrialized countries, the United States, in Europe in particular, governments subsidize their farming sector. And the reason why they do that is because they want to protect it. There's the issue of food security. You want to be sure that you're producing as much of your food as possible so that if tomorrow the boats can come in, you have your food locally and the people can live and survive. Okay,
Continue.
but there is a way in which that can be done. But again, Clinton and Ricardo, it takes a certain level of commitment, a certain level of knowledge, a certain level of know-how for those policies to be put in place. And somebody actively looking out for the best interests of the people of Dominica. So if I see a struggling farmer, if I see a guy struggling to sell 2 pounds of tomatoes, while at the same time a supermarket is selling 50, 60 pounds of tomatoes every day, as a policymaker, I have to ask myself, how can I help this young farmer to be able to sell the same 50, 60 pounds of tomatoes? And there are ways that this can be done, but it takes the ability to see that happening, the ability to want to do something about it, and also to care enough about the people of the country that you want to improve their livelihoods. But if you're a government that does not care about the people, as this government does not care, and I will say that boldly, this government of Dominica does not care about the people of Dominica. Because if it cared about the people of Dominica, the hundreds of millions of CBI money would be spent on the people of Dominica. The jobs created within Dominica would not go to those foreign companies of strange names like Renault and Dominica Strong and all these ridiculous companies that are there where you have local competence, So I think I am authorized to say that this government does not care about the people of Dominica. Okay, and that is why everything that we see amplifies that. It demonstrates that. Okay, but it comes from a position of, if you care for the people of Dominica, you will put policies in place. If you don't have the answers, you will get the advice, you will get the people who know about those things to advise you, and you put those things in place because you care about the people.
Okay. Can I want to say something before we continue any further. I'm a believer in when an election cycle is over, I believe that the whoever wins or whoever loses should start campaigning right after the election is done. So the election day yesterday, you should start campaigning today. So do you guys have your 21 or are working on your 21 constituents to run for the next general election when it comes?
You know, you made a very, let me address the statement that you made. And that's one of the problems I believe in our system, that because of the way the electoral system is set up, it forces you to almost campaign for 5 years. But that should not be. Look at the United States of America. If I were to use an example, they campaign for let's say 6-7 months. Yeah. But the rest of the time, people are busy making money. People are busy building wealth. People are busy doing other things. People are busy living life. Life is more than politics. But we spend so much of our energy and our time around politics. At the end of the day, we don't accomplish much. We don't build anything. We don't build wealth. We don't build, so many things because we spend some of it so consumed by it, But that's the system that we have. Now, the way you change that system is to have in place a fixed election date. So if you know that your election is every 5 years on that day, then you can structure your campaign around a relatively short time. So that the rest of the time, people are freed up to do other things, to work, to make money, to do those things, and also but the system that we have, unfortunately, as you said, it forces you to be campaigning 365 throughout, because an election can be called any time, and you don't want to be caught unprepared, so we have to do what we have to do, and part of that is ensuring that you have your candidates that are ready to run, because again, we have a system where we have 21 constituencies in a country of 70,000 people. That's another issue that has to go into some electoral reforms that we have to do, But part of the problem now is that you have to have people in place. Now, our politics is such that probably the most qualified person, maybe, I'm not saying that that's always the case, but it could be that the most qualified person that could probably win that seat for you, maybe a public servant. We expose a public servant 5 years into an election cycle. Well, that public servant could very well kiss their promotion goodbye. All right, they're not going to get promoted. They're not going to get what is due them because they're seen to be on the other side. So these are the real problems that we have with our electoral system and our politics in Dominica. So very often you're able to identify somebody, but in a way that person may be there secretly. Now, somebody might say, well, but why do you need a public servant? Why can't you get the person who is on the blocks and may not have a job and so on? Well, that person might have the popularity, they might win, but when that person wins, can they go into parliament and offer the same level of representation? Can they go into parliament and now begin to structure policy that can help you build a better country? So it's a very delicate balance that we have to tread. But I can tell you this, we are identifying people. Those who have the independent means and so on will be more vocal than those who don't. But we are in a perpetual state of preparedness. We want to be in a position, probably not quite there, but we are getting there, where if there's a snap election, we can say, okay, if we decide to run at this point, that will be able to put people forward that can best represent the interests of the Dominican public. And that is something that we have to do on an ongoing basis.
There's a statement. We keep talking about what will be done when they get in power. But I am very concerned about the now. What is the
Yeah, I see.
VWP doing now to show?
Yeah, I see where that person is going. So, for example, one person say, but as a party, you guys should be building people's homes for them and so on, and building homes and so on. Sometimes they're unrealistic expectations, because you have to, for example, you have to gain resources to do certain things. So, for example, if you want to set up a scholarship program, I mean, individual candidates may be able to sponsor a student or two. But if you want to really make it very effective, you probably need a few $100,000s to be able to do that. What you will find is that in our current politics, it is extremely difficult to raise resources outside of an election cycle, because people invest in you if they believe you have a chance to win an election. Because the people who are investing in you typically is what we call a quid pro quo. I give you something and they expect that if you come to the government, you may have better policy that will allow them to grow their business and so on. But usually that happens. They will give you money to, for example, do a campaign, but they may not give you money if I say now I come out and I want to do things. So we as a party, we have been trying to reach out, and we are looking at different means to reach out to get resources that we can do certain things. And I believe we can do more. All right. I believe as a party, we certainly can do more. For example, we can probably offer an elderly person, a weekly hamper. We encourage our members, if they can, for example, to look in the village, see who might be needy, and make sure they have some groceries, for the month and so on. We can do those things. We can do more of those things, okay? But you'd admit that it takes resources. And as a party, and one of the things that I am working very hard to do is to get resources even in the non-election cycle. But it's not going to come fast. It's not going to come quickly. And people say, oh, but you have been here for 2 years, Yeah, in those 2 years, I've initiated a lot of those discussions. But you don't just go to somebody, ask for a resource, and it comes right away. You have to write. Sometimes you have to write. It involves writing a project. It involves writing some concept. It has to go through certain things. We are doing all of that. But I can assure this person that we are not just going to sit aside and wait for an election, that we are looking to see what we can do within the communities, what projects are affordable, what projects we can, for example, reach out, say, to the diaspora to help us in. Those things we are looking to do, and you'll be hearing a lot more of that in the year ahead.
Okay. Well, you guys, we've been on for 2 hours.
Oh yeah! Wow. No, I thought we were going to be chatting for like 20 minutes or so.
I myself too, But the conversation was so good that it kept everybody interested, and we keep getting a lot of comments and stuff like that. So I personally, I don't want to bore the people with a lot more conversation for tonight. I think that enough food was given, so people could go back and look at the video and clips and do whatever they have to make to get bits and pieces of the conversation to edify their soul. So I would like to thank you, Dr. Thomson Fantaine, Mr. Roll, and the audience for tuning in to the conversation and for participating in such of a great magnitude of comments. And we tried our best to get to as many comments and as many suggestions as we could throughout the live process. But I want to give Mr. Roll the chance to give his closing remarks, and then we'll move to Mr. Fantaine, and then I'll end it at the end. So go ahead, Mr. Roll.
Well, where do I start? Doc, I want to wish you all the best in the upcoming elections. I think you're capable, Dominican's been crying for you to be back on the ground. That has been a concern.
Yes, gonna be on the ground. So let's celebrate.
That has been a concern over the years. Mm-hmm. In the last delegates conference, I was there, and I had the opportunity to see for the first time how how it has been done before, and the tension in the room. So I had the opportunity to see it. I
And
will be at the,
you also heard my explanation to the people as
yes,
well,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
To the
But the
delegates, yeah.
fact of the matter is, you decide to come back home. So we're gonna see now how the people relate to you. I, based on our questions and our deliberations this evening, I get a clear picture as to where you're heading as a prime minister, as a leader of the party. I guess I have a clear understanding as to your direction, hands down. Um, for Dominica itself, I wish all Dominicans the best because, like I said, somebody didn't just arrest me down here, take me out in Marigaland and bring me here and just arrest me down and run away. I was born here. I grew here. I had, in terms of life, I live Dominican and I still breathe Dominican. That's just me. So for me, I personally just want to see Dominica itself excel across the board. And if you're gonna come in there, I gonna be very, very straight up with you. I don't want you to get no other thinking about me. I'm a straight up person like this. If we give Thomson Fantaine with all his perks in terms of education and his ability to become the next leader of Dominica, and Thomson Fantaine is gonna take Dominicans, the young people especially, down that slope we're riding on, we're sliding on right now. I'm gonna tell you straight up, when the next election cycle comes around, I will talk against you.
Talk against me if I ever do
Yes,
that.
I will try my best to pull you down from the seat you're sitting on because,
Absolutely.
you know,
I would help
25
you with
years of
that.
my life, 25 years of my life, even if I'm a productive person, but I cannot take my life and wait over the whole of Dominica. But
And
when I
there's
say
nothing
my
really
life,
nice about full potential either,
I
right?
talking about young people,
Mhm,
has been wasted. And we
mhm,
cannot as a young generation come back and waste another 5 or another 2. You see, like how they have it in St. Kitts, they usually call for a vote of no confidence.
mhm.
I would support a move like that because to me, it's time for Dominicans to stop. If you look at the comments tonight, some of them talking about what you going to do as a leader of the opposition, and they keep sidetracking the fact that the opposition is a limited entity,
Mm.
whereas the government is the one with all the fuel to do
Resources.
things for Dominica, and they're not doing the right thing.
Mhm.
So we need to wake up as Dominicans and understand that they are not a group of people that want to make that difference, and give them the chance to then make the difference. And if they slip up, we rest them down on the side again and choose another set of people. It's as
That's how it
simple
should
as
be.
that.
That's
But
how
I'm
it
very
should be.
comfortable going forward. I want to say that hopefully tomorrow I will listen to Mr. Paris. We cannot go into this as like a one-sided situation. We don't want none of you, neither you nor Paris, to feel like, okay, well, Clinton them didn't give me a listening ear, and look again Paris a listening ear, or Paris gonna say, well, Clinton them didn't give me a listening ear, and they get Thomson Fantaine a listening ear. I want us to be as balanced as possible. So when we come to vote on the 15th, we're gonna vote for the right person. You would agree with me? So
Absolutely.
hopefully,
Absolutely. No
hopefully
problem.
tomorrow evening, if all goes well, I don't think it's gonna be televised. It's just gonna be a one-on-one conversation. But we're gonna listen to him because he wants to have the conversation. So we're gonna listen to him, listen to his plans, and then we can draw a line in the sand and say, okay, we're gonna go this way or we're gonna go that way. You know. But I will tell you upfront and personal, I comfortable with your ideas. You know. Let us see what the other side gonna say. But good luck going forward. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, great. Well, thanks, Clint and Richie. And what a pleasure it has been for me, to be with you, spend the past 2 hours, and for the many persons who commented and who took the time to listen. I'm truly indebted to all of you, and really thank you for that. I mean, you could be doing anything other than listening to us, but you chose instead to listen. So I'm really thankful for your time. I don't take that for granted. I'm really thankful, and also, for the questions, the very pointed questions, and that really helped me to articulate my vision for the country and for the future that we want to build. I mean, I'm extremely excited about what is in the offing for Dominica. We have a ways to go in terms of our electoral process and how we get there. But at the end of the day, I believe that, Dominica is a beautiful place, and it has suffered from poor governance. And above all, we need to change that. If we want to truly experience the greatness of Dominica, we have to change the governance of Dominica, because it impacts every aspect of our lives, and we cannot ignore the governance. Governance is critical in every area of our lives. I mean, the governance of the country will mean the difference between you, for example, planting 3 trees of marijuana, or you, for example, being able to grow 3,000 trees and make some serious money off of it. Governance determines that. Government determines whether you are able to send your children to school without having to worry about where the next meal is coming from. In a lot of times, the governance of the country determines that. Governance determines whether or not our young people are busy building apps, creating new things, dreaming of new ideas, being creative, or whether they're wasting their lives away on the roadside with a Caesars and a little calabash. So governance matters, and that's the reason why I am offering myself to the people of Dominica. All of these cumulative years of experience overseas and working within Dominica, being a high school teacher, teaching the students and so on, all of those years, I believe, have allowed me to see with some clarity what can be done to the betterment of Dominica. So I'm very happy I was able to explore some of those themes with you guys tonight. I'm truly thankful for the opportunity. I just want to pray continued blessings on you and Clinton on your program, and I also wish Mr. Paris good luck tomorrow as well. God bless.
Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Fantaine and Mr. Roll for joining me on this panel this evening. Our conversation was a wonderful and informative conversation to me, and I appreciate you took the time out, because I know you're a busy man. I appreciate that you took the time out to come and join me, and for our audience as well to come and join in and to ask questions that were pertinent to our discussion. I would also like to extend my condolences to the people of the St. Alphonsus Church who lost their priest in this past week, in the week gone, or this week. He was a leader of the country, so I don't know what to say, but people, we need a positive change in our island, a positive leader. I am hopeful that the UWP presents a positive leader, someone who's going to take initiative and take our island from where it is here today to where it can be or should be, because we are in need of a change. A drastic change is needed for our island to grow. Growth is needed for our people. Everybody should have $1 in their pocket and not going to ask somebody for $1. Everybody should be able to provide school clothes for their children. Some people should be able to be not getting handouts all the time. That's what I believe in. I believe in a positive and a strong nation and a strong people. What our national anthem and our national anthem talks about. So let us put Dominica first. Put Dominica first. Dominica is our home. Is our home. We are Dominicans first before we are anything else. So be a Dominican and make the right choice in your upcoming election whenever it comes about. I'd like to thank the audience. Thank you, Dr. Fantaine, and thank you, Mr. Roll, again for tuning in and for coming on to the panel.
Thank you.
Dr. Fantaine and Clint, don't leave and go anywhere. I'm just gonna cut off the live and then we'll have a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah, cool.
Don't go anywhere. So thank you, people, and have a blessed evening. Cardos Media presenting